Hey, so good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. I've seen some few questions regarding if we've already started. So we are now officially starting the webinar, and I want to thank everyone for your attendance and Happy New Year for anyone we haven't interacted since the year began. So just to start us off, as you can see on the poster that I've posted, we've launched a feature that we've discussed prior, which is the market linkage feature. So just a minute, we do the initial process and then we shall do the rest. Okay, so if it's your first time and you haven't been registered on FarmCloud, when you go to our website, there's an option to get started. And when you tap on the link to get started, it routes you to this page. So if you need any personalized assistance in regards to registering, you can feel free to book a demo and you'll get assistance to register into the platform and get and be onboarded smoothly, and you're given a complete walkthrough of the platform. So during the registering process, nothing much. You just need to indicate your name, first and last name, the username of preference, enter your email address and phone number. These ones are usually mainly used for verification purposes. And then you now enter your password and you confirm it. When you tick on this box and you click on register, the next step it's going to route you is to now verify your account details. So you can choose either to get verification code via email or via your phone number. So once that's done, you've verified your account details, you now proceed with logging in, and now you gain access to the account. So after you gain access to the account, this is basically what you're going to see. Okay, so as you can see, the first section is usually on the summary page where it gives you the overview of the entire platform, that being the inventory section, which involves the crops in production, the structures that you have in your farm. You also get the weather updates depending on your farm location. You also get the financial summary. And lastly, you get an update of the daily work reports you've done. So just to kick us off, to start us off, we usually begin with the farm assets section. And if by any chance anyone has any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, drop us a message at the chat box. We're happy to assist. So the first section is usually under the farm assets. So under farm asset is where we mainly do the inventory of the farm. So the first step is usually a farm element. So under farm element, indicate what's the specific structure that I have in my farm. If it's a greenhouse, if it's a screen house, if it's a shade net, if it's an open field, this is the section to indicate it. So if you have a greenhouse in your farm, you just indicate the specific greenhouse. So greenhouse, strawberries. So depending on how you'd prefer to name them, the type of greenhouse, either wooden or metallic, the size of the greenhouse also, and then you add. So that's basically it for each and every section. If you go to greenhouse, it basically asks you the same thing. Shade net as well. Open field too. So open field, you give it a block name. The size of that block, either in acres, square meters, or hectares, and the date added. And you have the option to backtrack all that information. So once that's added, once you've added the specific structure in the platform, the next step is to indicate the specific crop that you're growing in that structure. So when you tap on the name of the structure, it's going to give you the option to add a plant. So when you tap on add a plant, So in this case, you get two options. So we've made some few enhancements and added the feature for if you're doing seed propagation. So if you're doing normal planting, you will select this option for plant. If you're doing any seed propagation, you select seedling batch. Excuse me. So let's begin with plant. So you tap on confirm. You select the specific plant that you're growing in that section. So we can search beans. Let's go with broccoli. And then you select the variety of the broccoli you're growing. We can go with heritage. So the quantity planted, whether you planted in seedlings, in seeds, in grams, or in kgs. So as we can go with kgs and say we planted roughly 50 kgs. Projected harvest, it doesn't have to be accurate. It's just an estimate of what you think you'll get at the end of the harvest section, because you do have a harvest report that will record the actual harvest you did get. So if by any chance, by the time you're joining FarmCloud, you had already started planting, you can definitely backtrack and enter the specific time you had started planting, enter the projected harvest, and then you add. Okay, so I'd love for us to do another example for as if you were doing seed propagation. So you tap on add a plant, but for seed propagation, let's just proceed. I'll walk it. Let me show you how the document looks like. So in this case, as you can see under seedling batching is a bit different if you're planting a normal, an already propagated crop. So you have this section, you select the available seedling batch. In our case, we only have macadamia. You give the lots. So I'll walk you through where you'll fill in this information regarding the lot number etc. So you select the lot number. What is the quantity? So under quantity, you get two options, either seedlings or trays. So if you're planting seedlings, to be specific, if you're propagating seedlings, to be specific, just individual seedlings, you'll have to specify the quantity of seedlings you are propagating. But if you are doing the propagation in trays, you will indicate what are the number of trays and what is the total number of seedling per tray. So we can do the one for trays and say we have 100 trays and seedling count per tray is 150 seedlings. Sowing date and expected germination date, we can have it as we expect them to germinate in 2 weeks time. We can have it as of 21st and then you add. Okay, so lot quantity, we can say 10 and then we add. So that's the first step on FarmCloud, is to indicate the structure that you're growing, indicate the specific crop that is in production in that specific structure. So to walk you through over farm inventory, so under farm inventory, this is where you'll do the stock taking for fertilizers, agrochemicals, and seedlings as well. So in order for the lot number to appear when you're doing the farm element section, you need to have seedlings information here. So every time you have a new seedling that you want to propagate, you'll tap on add a seedling. You select the specific seedling that you're working with. Let's go with basil. We can select basil. We select the the variety that we are growing. We can go with Thai basil. Now this is the section whereby you now give all the information that is required. So lot number, depending on how you name your lot numbers or the system that you use. So we'll just use one for illustration, but you can stick with what you actually do in your farm. So we can say B21 can indicate B21. And then now the next step is to indicate the quantity. So quantity, we can have it as, let's say, 100 kgs. Supplier, you select the specific supplier that provided the seedlings for you. I'll show you the section to add your specific suppliers. So we can go with a crop care hub. Date added was today, and then we add. So now you see we've indicated in the system that we do have another seedling, which is basil. So heading over to fertilizers and agrochemicals, this is something we've done in our previous sessions. So under fertilizers and agrochemicals, just indicate what currently do you have in your farm. Have you updated the quantity? Have you updated the stock of your farm inputs? That's just basically it. And how to go about it is you tap on add a fertilizer, you select the specific fertilizer you're referring to. We can go with, let me select a random one. Let's go with this one. You select the supplier again, we'll go with Crop Hub. And then the quantity you bought or is available on stock, we can go with 100 kgs. And then we have minimum quantity alert. Minimum quantity alert is just to gauge yourself, so that the fertilizer does not run out. The system will give you a notification that a specific fertilizer is almost running out for you to restock it, and then you add. So that's how it basically works. If you need to restock, when you tap on these three dots, it will give you the option to restock, and you can increase the quantity of the fertilizer or agrochemical. So before we head over to the daily work reports, maybe if there's any question, I'm happy to address them, and then we can proceed to the next section. Okay, so there's a question here, but I'm not so sure if it's quite clear. So from your question, do you mean if it can automatically? Okay, regarding the first question on I'll kindly request for you to clarify, asking if this can be outsourced to populate initially in case one doesn't have personnel capacity at the farm. I'll kindly request you elaborate it further. Or do you mean if the inventory can be automatically done by the system if you don't have personnel capacity? If that is the question, the answer is no. You have to key in the information. But if that wasn't your question, I'm requesting kindly you clarify it. I'll be happy to answer. So heading over to the next question, they're asking, is the registration fee or you have to pay? So registration is absolutely free. You don't need to pay for anything to register on FarmCloud. So what happens, we have various packages of FarmCloud, but registration is free. So once you've registered on FarmCloud, you can now choose the specific package you'd love to be in. Other than the packages we offer, we do because we have free packages and we have now paid packages. But we do acknowledge you might want to test out the system before you can fully commit to a subscription. So we do offer a 30-day trial period where you can try the system, which and it has all the features of a paid plan. You can try it out and see if it will be fit for your farm operations. And then if yes, you proceed with now subscribing. Yes, so registration is totally free, and we do have a free package that you can constantly use FarmCloud with, but you also do offer the trial period. You get you have a trial period for 30 days to test out the platform. Okay, so I don't know if there's anyone else who has any questions before we can head over to daily work reports. So someone asked if there's an expiry date for pesticides. So for that, just so you know, other than the software platform FarmCloud, we do offer other services like agronomic support. So if by any chance you need any support that will require an agronomist input, please feel free to let us know. We'll make the necessary arrangements for you to be guided on the best agricultural practices. Yes. I don't know if there's any questions from anyone. If anyone wants to speak, we can give you time to say something. If not, I'd highly appreciate a thumbs up and then we can proceed with daily work reports. Okay. I think now we can proceed to the daily work reports. So under daily work report, just as the name suggests, the activities you're doing on a daily basis on your farm. Fertilizer application definitely is part of them, agrochemical as well, scouting, manual irrigation, pre-harvest and harvest section, and others. So we can start off with the fertilizer report. So tap on create a report. You now select the element, and remember the element is the structure that you're working with. So in this case, we can go with James greenhouse. Now, once you select the structure, the system automatically knows the specific crops that are being grown in that structure. So the only thing to be done is you select which crop are you applying the fertilizer to. So we can go with heritage at the stage. So you need to select the specific stage that you're in. Are you planting? Are you sprouting? Are you transplanting? Is it vegetative, flowering? Depending on the stage that you're in. But since you're beginning, we'll leave it as at planting. And then fertilizer name, what is the fertilizer that you had applied? Date of application, time of application, quantity that you had applied for, method of application, and any notes that might be applicable. And then you add. And just to add on, if you'd love to add as many reports as possible, there's that option. So you don't have to do one report at a time. You can do several reports at a time. So fertilizers and agrochemicals, there isn't any difference. They're exactly the same thing. So the same steps we've done for fertilizer, we apply it on agrochemical. Now heading over to scouting, what did you see at the farm? The report for scouting is a bit different, other than entering the farm elements, selecting the variety, the stage that you're in, and now you give a brief description and you attach an image. As you can see in this case, the stages are a bit different compared to what I had initially shown. So if you are doing a report for a normal plant, you'll get all those stages from planting up until clearing. But if you are doing a report for seed propagation, the stages are only three: sowing, germination, and maturity. So that's the difference when it comes to the normal plants and when you're doing the seed propagation. So in this case, the Kiambu tree was it was under seed propagation, and in this case, we'll leave it as sowing. So you give a brief description. You give a brief description. Sow the first batch of seeds, and then you upload an image, because that's scouting report. You saw something, so you give that you can attach an image to support what you're saying, and any notes that might be applicable. Okay, so heading over to manual irrigation. Manual irrigation basically is what was the amount of water you had irrigated for. That's all. So you just select the element again, the variety, the stage. Let me select a different one. As you can see here, the stages are different. So you select the stage, you can go with vegetative. What was the duration you irrigated for? You say 240 minutes. quantity, we can say 1,000 liters. Method used, we can go with drip irrigation, and then attach any notes that are applicable to this report, and then you add. So after the manual irrigation, the next step is usually under the pre-harvest reports. So pre-harvest report is just the final checking you do before you can consider yourself ready for harvest. And this is how the report looks like. So same steps as we've been doing. You select the farm elements. After the farm element, you select the variety. After the variety, you now select the stage. So maybe in this case, you're at fruiting and you're now finalizing on harvesting. So you tap on fruiting and then activity date, and then attach any notes regarding the pre-harvest report. Any applicable note, you can feel free to attach it. Maybe weeding needs to be done, plucking needs to be done, any additional notes, and then you add it. So after that, the last step is usually harvest. But before we cover harvest, we can go to other reports. So we do acknowledge what we've highlighted here are not all the reports that are done in a farm. They're not the only activities that are done in a farm. We have pruning, we have trace sterilization. You can do soil testing, water testing, any other activity that hasn't been highlighted in the platform, you use the other section to fill it in. So you tap on create a report. The only difference in this case is that you'll have to give that specific report a name. So if you're doing weeding, you give it a name, weeding, and then now you proceed with everything else you've been doing for the other reports. You select the elements, you select the variety, you select the dates that you've been pruning, you give a brief description of what you did at the farm that day. You can also upload an image, and if you have more notes that you want to attach, there's a section for that. And then lastly, let's cover the harvest report. So under harvest reports, it's just us indicating what's the quantity we've gotten at the end of our season. So same step again, select the farm elements. Select the variety. We can actually try with that one. You see how it will appear. Remember, this one is the seedling under propagation. So as you can see here, the options are a bit different. You get mature seedlings, immature seedlings, and lost. So if you the number of seedlings that matured, we can go with 100. Immature seedlings, you can indicate 20. Harvest lost, we can leave it at none. So when you're doing seed propagation, these are the options you'll get. Now, if we were doing for a normal plant, this is what is going to look like. You'll get harvest, high quality harvest, low quality harvest, and harvest lost. So that's the difference if you are doing seed propagation or you're doing normal planting. And also for harvest report, you can add as many reports as possible. So adding multiple reports are available under fertilizers, agrochemicals, and harvest reports. And then we save. And lastly, a feature that's usually very beneficial if mostly you want to export, if your buyers are quite strict with what you grew, if they just want to stick with organic farming, and maybe they're a bit skeptical with trusting what you've said, we have a traceability report on FarmCloud. So you can generate a traceability report and provide it as proof to your buyers that whatever you were doing is in line with what they had requested for. So we'd love to cover the next section, which is going to be weather and satellite. But before, and then after weather and satellite, we'll cover the new feature, which is the market linkage feature, and then head over to the accounting feature. But before we do the weather and satellite feature, I'd request if there's any questions from anyone, I'm happy to address them so that we can move swiftly. Okay, if there are no questions, a thumbs up will be highly appreciated again. And then we can now proceed with weather and satellite. And then now we cover the most anticipated feature, which is the market linkage feature. Okay, so let's proceed with the weather and satellite feature. So we made some enhancements regarding the layout of the weather and satellite feature. It's a bit different compared to how it was previously. So in this case, so we'll tap on create a farm boundary. So when you tap on create a farm boundary, as you can see, previously these options were not available. So just to walk you through, let me search a place and then we can use that as illustration. So the main purpose of the weather and satellite feature is to get weather updates and as well as monitor how healthy your crops are doing with the help of indices. So you get real-time and historical weather data. Okay. So we can use this one as an example. So anytime you're trying to plot a farm boundary and you see this plus sign, that's like an indication that you're ready to start plotting. But if you're not ready to start plotting, you still want to look for your farm, you tap on this hand-like figure here, and then you're supposed to have a hand, and then you now can maneuver the platform. If you want to draw, you'll tap on this section. If you want to delete the boundary you've done, this section. If you want to undo it, redo it, download it, these are the options you get. And we have this section here. So if you want to zoom in to that specific place, you have this section. If you want to go a bit further, if you want to move, if you want to move down. So yeah, that sums up the weather and now plotting up, now the features on the plotting a boundary. So we want to do the actual plotting. So you'll tap on here. As you can see, you have a pop-up of draw a polygon. So you tap on that. You now select the specific point you'd love to draw your polygon. So here to here, to here, to there. So that is my land. So once you're done with plotting the boundary, the next step is going to, you indicate the name of that boundary. You name it block, whichever name you prefer. And then you select a specific open field that is attached to that boundary that you're plotting. Something to note, plotting a boundary and weather and satellite feature is if most effective on an open field setup. So if you have a greenhouse, the satellite is not able to see through a greenhouse setup due to the polythene. So the reason why it only works on an open field setup. So the name, that you attach it to an open field and then you create a boundary. If you want to redo it, you tap on reset and restart the whole process again. I don't know if there's any questions on plotting a farm boundary. Okay, if there is none, I'll show you how the weather and satellite feature looks like, and then we can tackle now the marketplace. So as you can see here under weather and satellite feature, you get three options: daily, hourly and historical weather data. So for hourly, as you can see, we have from 6 p.m. up until the next day at 3 p.m. You have daily forecast, and for daily forecast, you get up to 5 days ahead. So the farthest we can see is 4th of February. And historical weather data, we can backtrack up to 1 year. So you just filter out the specific months or date you'd love to check, and then you proceed with getting the information. Now under satellite data uses indices. We've provided explanations on the indices, but just to break it down to you and make it so easy, we usually classify them. I usually classify them into two: the indices that monitor the greenness of the crop and indices that monitor moisture levels. So the indices that monitor the greenness of the crop are usually NDVI, EVI, EVI2, and NRI. So those are the indices that monitor the greenness of the crop. And how to analyze the data is that the higher the value, the indication of a healthy crop, and the lower the value, and it's an indication of a stressed crop. So the ones that focuses on moisture are DSWI and NDWI. So under NDWI, the higher the value, the indication that the place has sufficient water, both in the crops and in the soil. Now, under DSWI, which stands for Drought Severity Index, in this case, it's now the opposite of NDWI. High value suggests that there's drought has stricken that place or the crops are stressed, and low values indicate that there is sufficient water and the place is not drought stricken. So that gives a summary of the weather of the satellite data. I'd love to proceed to the next section. Just to add on, if you are on the paid feature, you're able to extract your satellite data information. So yeah, it's something to put a note on. I don't know if there's any questions revolving around the weather and satellite feature. We are happy to address them, and then we can go to the next section. Okay, I can see there are some few questions. So someone is asking, once I've plotted, can your software give me an approximate size? Yes, it does. So every time you plot a farm boundary, as you can see here, it will always, before even you complete it, it will always tell you what is the total coverage that you have plotted. So that also helps you gauge if you're gauging correctly, or if your approximation is not as accurate. Okay. I think there's another question. So someone is asking, if I have at some point pinned my farm, can I upload the farm on this map feature? So you can't necessarily upload, but what you can rather do is search your farm location on the feature. So you just enter the location. The good thing is that you search it, you're able to find it. And if you're having any challenges locating your farm, just use a famous landmark. It will greatly assist you with locating your farm. Yes, I hope I've been able to answer your question. If there's any further question, please feel free to let me know. So yes, I think we can now head over to the market linkage feature. And the main idea around this platform is, we do know in the farming sector that market is such a huge challenge to all farmers. So we've tried as much as possible, by popular request and demand from our clients, that you wanted a market feature included in the platform. So we have now this feature, the market linkage feature. So I'll just give a brief explanation of how the feature operates, and then I'll invite my colleague Sam to proceed with giving you an in-depth explanation of the feature. So under market linkage feature, we accommodate both you as the farmer and the buyer. So what happens if you are an interested buyer and you'd love to buy products from our farmers who are currently using FarmCloud? What you do first is you will have to register. That's the first step. So you send us a request, you share your email address that you'd love to be a buyer of the farmers on FarmCloud. Once that's done, you put in your request. You request for a quotation. So if there's any farmer interested in your request for a quotation, they'll submit a quotation to you. So you might receive quotation from several farmers. So it's not necessarily one farmer. So all farmers can submit their quotation. So once they submit their quotation and the buyer selects the best farmer that he wants to work with, either depending on what they had indicated on the quotation, the crop, etc., they proceed and an order is created. I think as of now, we will, and just to note, this feature for markets linkage is available even if you're on the free package. So I'd highly advise, if you haven't registered on FarmCloud, kindly register on FarmCloud so that you don't miss out on any opportunity to conduct a business. And if you are an interested buyer in the meeting today, please feel free to share your email address with me via chat, and we'll be able to get in touch with you further. So, and also just to make you feel secure about this, we will be vetting the buyers before we can post their request for quotations on the platform. So vetting will be done privately by us, and then once we've approved it, we'll now proceed with uploading the request for quotation by the buyer on the platform. So I'll go ahead and invite my colleague Sam to walk you guys through further on this feature, and then we can proceed. So I can see there's a question here. There's several questions. So the first question they're asking, allow us please for Sam at least to finish up with the presentation for market. And then as he proceeds with his presentation, any questions that pop up, please feel free to write them. We'll address all the questions at once. So let me invite Sam to proceed with the presentation for market linkage feature, and then we'll proceed from there. Feel free to ask any questions. Okay, maybe I can just address the questions. Someone is asking, market participants are global. So we are inviting both global and local markets. So it will be both of them, both global and internet. So both global and local markets. Another one is, do you guide farmers on current market prices for various farm products? So in such a case, we usually advise you work directly with our agronomists to guide you on the market prices depending on that specific season, because I might give you an estimate, but they keep fluctuating. So in that case, if you want to know the market prices for the specific crops that you're growing, we advise that you can get in touch with me, and then I can guide you on the next step. But mainly, it's usually we advise you work hand in hand with our agronomist, and he'll be able to assist you with the current market prices for any product. I think there's also another question here. Okay, So I think I can invite Sam to proceed, and then we'll answer any further questions that come from his presentation. Okay, so Sam, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samuel, and I'm a co-host alongside Stacy for our first monthly FarmCloud webinar. Now I'll take you through the new feature that we have launched, then you'll be able to understand how the buyers and the farmers are connected together in the FarmCloud as a marketplace. So now I know you're wondering, those of us who have farms, I know you're wondering what are quotations, what are orders, what are RFQs. But in a moment, I'll outline everything in a way that you'll be able to understand and give you specific examples from uh, the modules themselves. Those are RFQs, quotations, and orders. So you'll be able to understand from a farmer's point of view what they are and what you're supposed to do when you see an RFQ, a quotation, or an order. So first, let me share my screen. Give me a minute. All right. So now we have RFQs, we have quotations, and we have orders. RFQs are in the long term, we read them as request for quotes. Request for quotes is where you want a product, and now you write a request for you to get a quotation of that product. So R for request, F for and Q for quotation, Q for quote. So it's request for quote. This is written by the buyer. So a buyer registered in FarmCloud will write a request for quote for a product which is listed in FarmCloud. So that product may be, it's a product that one farmer farms in FarmCloud and another one doesn't, or maybe all farmers do farm in FarmCloud. So once the RFQ is created by the buyer, you'll be able to see it under the RFQs page. So here, these are examples of RFQs. So you see the RFQ has a reference title, it has the buyer who created that RFQ. I'm using test account so that I can show you how an RFQ looks like and also describe to you what it entails and everything inside it. So as you can see, let's continue. We have a product. So here, this is the product. The it's a test product. Let me use this. So you might find yourself as a farmer, you grow pole beans. So you'll be able to apply for respond to this request for quote with the application. And you can see the amount that the buyer wants and the quantity, the delivery, if they pick up location or if they choose the delivery option. And then we have the date that the request for quote was created and the deadline, which means the last day for which the request for quote should be considered valid. So now I'll view one request for quote so I can show you how created request for quote by a buyer looks like. So you have to press this view details button. So here we have the heading of the request for quote and the product specification. So this product is the product which exists in FarmCloud, which is farmed by all the buyers or all the farmers in FarmCloud. So as a buyer, you'll be able to see all potatoes, uh, varieties, all maize varieties, all cabbage varieties, everything in FarmCloud is a product. And then the variety itself over here. Then you'll have to include the quantity and the quality which you want. And then you'll have to write the product notes. So this is my test account. So some of the information which is not needed for creating an RFQ has been omitted for simplicity. But as a buyer, you For compliance and for clarity, you'll have to provide all the information so that farmers don't face any ambiguity when responding to your RFQ with a quotation. Then this section here lists the certification that you require as a buyer for those products to have met. Then we have the delivery details that includes the delivery option, which can be delivery or pickup, and the pickup date, the date where the goods will be picked up, and then the notes. Then we have the budget. So this budget indicates that this buyer wants sample bills with a range of minimum value of 200 and a maximum value of 10,000 in Kenya shillings. So this is a very high level view of what a quotation looks like once it has been created by the buyer and is now approved by us as SINEFA to be able to be open in the marketplace. Then as a farmer, you head over to this other section where you'll be able to see the buyer information, then the timeline where the quote submission deadline is the deadline by which you're supposed to submit your quotation if you see that this request for quote is something that you can satisfy. Let's say you grow maize and now this request for quote is a buyer requesting for quotation for maize. So this means that by 22nd of December, it is the last day that you're supposed to submit the quotation. Other than that, no, this RFQ is not receiving any more quotation. Then the required delivery is the last date by which the goods are supposed to be picked up or maybe delivered to the buyer. And then you'll see my quotation section here lists the quotation which you as a farmer have responded with to this request for quote for this buyer. A point of note is that as a farmer, you're only allowed to make only one submission of a quotation for given RFQ. So even if you see uh, one RFQ and you have maybe 10 varieties of say potatoes that you can supply that buyer with, you're only supposed to respond with only one quotation of the best value of the crop. Okay, then other than that, now let us head to quotations. So you heard me talk about quotations. Quotations are the response to this RFQ. So you as a farmer or me as a farmer, once I see that there are open requests for quote in my dashboard, because when the buyer creates a request for quote and it is approved, they will automatically appear in this section over here. So you'll be able to see all requests for quote in FarmCloud regardless of where you are or where the buyer is. And then if you want to respond now to a given quotation, you you have to create to give an RFQ, you have to create a quotation for that specific RFQ. So once you create a quotation for a given RFQ, you will come here and then you'll see all the quotations that you have responded to for all the RFQs that were open at the time or with the products of interest that you as a farmer grow in your account. So here we have one quotation that is under review. Once you submit a quotation to be accepted, it has to be reviewed by us, and also the buyer has to accept. Maybe if they feel that your quotation aligns with what they want, now they'll be able to accept it and will be matched with that buyer. So you can let us view a quotation example so that you can see how a quotation looks like. So here we have quotation details where this is your name, the organization and the status of your quotation. Then this is the request for quote reference, which essentially means the RFQ to which you're responding this quotation to. Then you have the pricing and quantity. Now these are the values of your quotation. Say the buyer had a range of 200 to 10,000 shillings. Now you respond with price per quantity and the quantity offered. So the total value is 12,300 shillings. And then the delivery details, if you choose to deliver to the buyer or if you choose the buyer to pick it up from the farm. Then you have the pickup location and then the pickup in. in 2 months. This is the required time for delivery or pickup, and then this is what it is indicated. Then now here we have a timeline. So this timeline, um, it acts as a reference to the stage of your quotation. So you see the first stage over here is uh, quotation being submitted, where I see you as a farmer, you have submitted a quotation, or me as a farmer. Then the next stage is being reviewed. The buyer is reviewing a quotation, and if your quotation is accepted by the buyer, you will see a status, and you receive an email and also an app notification telling you that your quotation, which you applied under a given RFQ, has been approved, and now it is up to you to enter into the contract with the buyer and supply the given products to the buyer. Then the expected fulfillment is the last stage, where the estimated completion date, once the quotation is approved and the order proceeds. So once the buyer accepts your quotation, and now there will be an order which will be created once you now become successful in that quotation. Let me show you how orders are created. So orders again are automatically created once your quotation has been accepted by the buyer. So once an order is created, you as a farmer, you have to accept that order, and also the buyer again will have to accept that order now for the entire process to kick off. So once you accept the order, that means that you have entered into an agreement with the buyer for you to supply the buyer with the required products, and now for the buyer to pay you for the given products. Let me show you an example of an order. So here is the order summary. It is automatically generated by FarmCloud. We have the crop, the variety, the delivery information, and then the payment information, where the payment terms is not 14 days, which is included in the request for quote by the buyer. Then again, we have the buyer information, the links request for quote. You can press here and it will take you direct to the quotation request for quote itself. And then here we have the order timeline. You can see again, this is also a reference for the order, where the order is created, generated successfully, and then the order is confirmed, where you acknowledge that you have confirmed the order, and then the order can be cancelled. Once you cancel the order, the timeline stops there because there is no more action that you can do since you haven't entered into an agreement with the buyer. But once you confirm the order, you have to fulfill the order, and then if everything goes smoothly as anticipated, because the only next step is for you as a farmer to give the buyer your products, and then the buyer will have to pay you the money. You will receive notifications for all the stages. When the order is created, order is confirmed, the payment has been delivered, and when the farmer receives the products, if the farmer is awaiting delivery, or if the farmer is picking up the products from the farm. So everything is very transparent for both sides to enhance trust and transparency for farm trade. So with that being said, um, for those of us who are aspiring to become buyers in FarmCloud, I'll highlight the buyer dashboard so that you can also get an idea of how the buyer profile is supposed to look in the process of creating an RFQ, and then we can wrap it up with that. So let me log out first, and then we can wait for any question, if there's any question, before we proceed to the buyer's dashboard. Okay. I see there are some questions here. Um, so let's just answer the question, then we can proceed.
Okay, so there was a question. Someone asked, how secure is the app? Since it's cloud-based, how do you deal with data on the app and your policy? Other than the person who has purchased the product, who else has the same data on the back end? So for that, FarmCloud is strictly secured, and there's no third parties involved to the platform. So the only information one can get is the information on your account, unless now, if you're on a paid feature and then you have various users on the account, then definitely you'll have several people having access to the account, but authorized by you first, since the paid packages accommodate you having various users on the platform. Other than that, let's say it's just a single user on the platform, no one else has access to the account unless now you share either a username and the password to anyone else. Now on the backend side, it's just strictly limited to authorized administrators in Cinefa, and it's only used when there is any system maintenance or support required by the farmer. Other than that, the platform is quite secure and your data is not shared with anyone else. I think there was another question.
Then ukienda hata sijaiona.
So on the second question regarding indices, Sam will assist us with that later. So if I can address another question that has been posted, have you had incidences where there has been a problem with the buyer not paying the farmer? How can a farmer safeguard with regards to receipts of payments?
Like kwenye najua FarmCloud has processed any payments. So but hatujapata any incident where when a buyer amekosa kulipa kwa sababu it's a new thing tumerelease tu juzi.
Okay. So just to set your expectation, we've just recently launched the feature for market and linkage. So we haven't had any incidences per se. And just to set your expectation, no transaction is done through FarmCloud. So there won't be a transaction done through the platform the way M-Pesa works. No, there won't be any transaction um, done directly through the platform. I hope that makes sense. But other than that, just to set your expectation, we've just recently launched this feature. We want to onboard buyers and business can be conducted between them and the farmers. So yeah. On the other question of indices, we haven't skipped it. Sam is going to address it later.
Run screening hapa kuna swali, does a farmer have to wait until harvest to start looking for buyers, or can one indicate that this crop will be ready at some point in time? Hawezi indicate.
I think there's another question regarding if a buyer can post their harvest, if they can start looking for buyers before they can harvest. On the platform, no. You at least need to have available harvest. Yes. Or even if you're posting, let it not be a huge difference that someone has to wait for a whole month to get the produce. You just plan yourself effectively that in case you get an order, you're not caught off guard and you're able to deliver to the buyer.
Okay. So we come to the buyer dashboard. So now this is the dashboard, the summary part. It's similar to the farmer profile in terms of how FarmCloud looks like, because it's all FarmCloud, and we have the RFQ portal, the buy portal, the orders, and the settings. This is for you as a buyer, where you set your profile, your password, and the likes. So let me take you through here. We have the request for quote stats. This is like the statistics where you have open request for quotes, awarded, pending, rejected, and here we have recent orders and we have recent request for quotes. So let's move right into the request for quote portal. So request for quote portal is where you create your new RFQ. You as a buyer, you want maize. So you come here. And now you create a title for your request for quote and write a very detailed description of what you want and any requirements, everything that you want to be satisfied in this request for quote. Then we have the next section, which is product specification. As I had mentioned earlier, these are all the products in FarmCloud. So once you as a farmer see a request for quote with, let's say, raspberries, can be able to respond to it and now enter into a contact with the buyer. Then we have the variety, same methods. Um, then we have the quantity, the grade, and any notes you have to write about the product specification. Then we have the certification. These are a list of the certification that the product must have to like certified so that you can be able to they can be able to be acceptable inside your request for quote. You can say like they must have an organic badge, GAP badge, and the likes. Once you say let me add organic, and then you press this button and add it, then they will be able to add another certification that you feel should be met by the farmer first. Then you have delivery preference where if you as a buyer you want to pick up from the farmer, you can uh, you can pick this option, or if you want it delivered, you pick this second option and then you select the location. If you start typing the location, you'll be able to see where you can enter that location here. Then also you can be able to write your delivery notes. Then you have the timeline and budget. Quote deadline is the time where this request for quote will expire. So once it has expired, you won't be able to receive any quotations from farmers for this request for quote. Then desired delivery or pickup date is when you want your products to be delivered to you, or you anticipate you'll be able to pick them up. Then you have the payment terms where you'll be able to list if you want payment done in 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, or other. Then you have to specify. Then the currency is the currency which you'll be able to make transaction with. Then we have the minimum budget and the maximum budget. Minimum budget is the last price for your for the last price you're willing to pay for given unit, say 100 per kg or 100 per liter, 100 per anything. And then here we have maximum budget range. It's the maximum budget you're willing, the maximum price you're willing to pay for given unit. So you set 100 as minimum and 200 as maximum. So any value between 100 and 200 is acceptable from the farm. That is what you mean by minimum and maximum budget. And then here, you as a buyer, you have to upload your proof of funds. Proof of funds is you assuring Finefa that you can be able to pay the farmer for the products. So options that are present currently, a bank guarantee, a CRB report. These are used to certify that me as a buyer, I can be able to pay for these goods that I want from the farmer listed in this RFQ. Then a signed agreement, commodity insurance document and a payment document policy, which outlines your terms and conditions for your RFQ. And then once you select maybe a bank guarantee, you'll be able to select the document. So take note that Cinefa is going to review everything that you upload here. And if Cinefa finds that one or two things are missing, your request for quote will be rejected, and you'll be required to update it with a new request for quote, or you can be able to write another one. But the best thing is to update, because there's an open period for when you can be able to update your request for quote once it has been rejected, and also the reason for it being rejected will be communicated to you very clearly. Then you have additional information part where you'll be able to add other supporting documents to enhance your suitability of the RFQ to other farmers. And then the notes, and then you'll be able to continue to the next part until you submit, because the next part is only to review and also and only submit, so that it can be able to be reviewed by Cinefa. Once it has been approved by Cinefa, it's only then it will be visible by the farmers in the request for quote part in FarmCloud dashboard. Then once you've been able to create an RFQ, you'll see that the RFQs will appear here with the name, product, the budget range, and all the details, and what you can be able to view that RFQ. So you see that this is the RFQ name, the product specification, the required certification, the delivery details, budget and payment terms, and proof of funds documents that you as a buyer have uploaded to FarmCloud. And then the farmer quotations list the number of quotations that you have received for this particular RFQ. They will come down here. On the right side, we have timeline and activity. For timeline, again, it acts as a reference to the stage which your RFQ is. So we have RFQ submitted, which is the first step. Then the next step is under review. Then once it has been approved, it's open for quotation. And now, once you have been merged with a given quotation, that is you accepting a quotation from a farmer, you, uh, you see this button will be here, which means expected delivery as the last step. Then the activity shows all the stages that this RFQ has gone through. The first one, of course, is being created, submitted for review. Say reviewed and it has been approved, or reviewed has been rejected, updated, and the likes. You'll be able to see all these once you're creating your RFQ and through the entire marketplace cycle. Then once your RFQ is created and now you have accepted a quotation, you'll come here to the orders, because once you accept an order, you accept a quotation, an order is automatically created for both you and also the farmer. Then you'll be able to see the order details, the same order which you viewed as farmer, which you can see the summary for the order, involves the product, the delivery information, the payment information, and the RFQ itself, and now the timeline again. So once you accepted you have created a quotation, the next step is for it to be reviewed by Cinefa. And then if it is approved, it is visible to the farmer's dashboard, and then they'll be able to submit a quotation for that RFQ. Then you have to review that RFQ, and if it meets your criteria of requirements, you'll be able to approve it, and an order will be automatically generated, which the farmer has to accept that order so that you can enter into contact with the farmer and proceed with the delivery procedure. And then afterwards, the order will be the point of reference as to where your process of uh, delivery has been reached at, since you have delivery, you as a buyer and also as a farmer, you have to upload proof of payment and proof of delivery, and then you'll be able to mark the order as complete. Once the order has been marked as complete, it means that the transaction between the buyer and the farmer has been successfully done, as FarmCloud doesn't manage any payments made between the farmer and the buyer. So that's isolated for you as a buyer and as a farmer to manage your transaction separately from FarmCloud. Then with that, we've come to the end of the marketplace feature. This is just the introduction. So in our next webinar, I'll take you through the step-by-step process and examples of how to create an RFQ, how to create a winning quotation, how an order looks like, all the steps for creating an order, all the steps which an order goes through until the very end to when the order has been completed. So if you have any question, kindly don't hesitate to ask. I'll be able to respond to your questions.
Okay, so there's a question here. Someone is requesting if they can ask a general question outside FarmCloud regarding our agronomic service. So yes, please feel free to ask the question. We don't limit the webinar to just FarmCloud. We can definitely answer regarding any other product or service we provide. So the question is that they noted that at times the information provided by some agronomists is readily available on the internet or via YouTube. And they were just wondering if getting our services will be worthwhile. Yeah, okay. So just to address it, so that's a good question. So the agronomist that we work with, this is a certified agronomist, someone who actually has experience and background education in agronomy, and they've been an agronomist for the past a decade plus. So he's quite experienced in this field. So we've worked with various farmers. We've worked with various farmers. Help them achieve the best from their produce. And how our program works, we don't just give you advice and leave you there. So if, for example, you are the owner of their farm, and let's say probably you have farm workers, by the time our agronomist is coming to do the routine checkups in your farm and provide the relevant recommendations, if you're not available at the farm, the workers have been updated, but also you as the farmer, a report is going to be shared to you regarding the recommendation that was shared, what were the findings while the agronomist was at the farm. So you won't just get any surface level assistance. You'll be getting a comprehensive assistance from our agronomist. I do understand your skepticism, but if you give Cinefa a chance, we guarantee you won't be disappointed. So someone also is mentioning that they missed part of the webinar, and if we'll be sharing the recording, yes, the recording is going to be shared probably by next week, and all our recordings are posted on our YouTube channel. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll find all webinars that we've done. But yes, this specific webinar is going to be posted as well. You'll be able to find it by next week.
Okay, so we have quite a number of questions. This is very encouraging, and you guys are asking very good questions. Like for one, we have a question that asks, is there a measure to refer to with the indices for specific crops or climate? For example, they are asking what an index favorable to soil checking on a cabbage farm that's plotted on the map. So generally, what the indices do is that they measure the healthiness of your soil and also of your crops, and on a general scale. So if your soil has too much water, the indices will indicate in your farm and show that your soil has too much water. If your crop is not as green as uh, it's supposed to be, the correct index will be reflected and it will be shown in your dashboard. So for the specific index for a given crop, say potato or cabbage, that index that tracks a given crop is in the pipeline, but this is a very good idea which already is being worked on. Once it has been completed, we'll be able to share it through Stacy and I'll show you how to go about it. And then the other question asks, does your system support fresh produce, i.e. vegetables which are highly perishable? So we don't grow, uh, whatever you guys are growing is on your farm. So what you're doing on FarmCloud is record keeping, which helps you fast track your data and ensure that you reduce poor quality yields and increase your high quality yields, therefore reducing food wastage and promoting healthy crops. So uh, the perishable goods, you're the one who grows your products. So let's say tomatoes are very perishable, uh, all the other types of vegetable are very perishable. So once you grow them on your farm, you have to log your activities, like the daily work reports, the inventory for your products, and the harvest reports, all of them. Then once you have logged the harvest report, your product is now live in FarmCloud. Then the buyer will be able to see it and create a request for quote for your product. And then you as a farmer with your perishable goods, vegetables that is, and fruits, you'll be able to respond with a quotation for that request for quote. And now, since your product is very perishable, you have to fast track your delivery or pickup with the buyer because you don't want your farm produce to stay too long during the delivery period or before you have been sent to the market. So I hope I have answered the question and also elaborated more on how to best use FarmCloud and how to cater for when you have highly perishable goods. Then the next question, is there economic is there economic order quantity for the items. I'd like you to kindly elaborate on your question, then I can be able to answer it. Okay, so we have another question. So for the previous question, I see, but you haven't yet elaborated on it. But from my understanding, is there economic order quantity for the items? So uh, in FarmCloud, we do not regulate the amount of quantity you can order. It is up to you to know the amount of quantity you want, or how much you as a buyer you want to order. So currently we do not regulate how much you can order as a buyer. I hope I have answered your question. If not, kindly write it down in elaborative manner so we can be able to answer it bit by bit. The other question is, do some of the RFQs have minimum order quantity, and if so, can a farmer post what they can deliver? Currently, our system is the point of say the starting point is from the buyers. So as a farmer, you cannot post what you can deliver currently because this is an initial step where it will be improved as we go by because we are going to receive more requests and still the other bits in the pipeline. So we had to first release this market linkage feature focused on the buyer side. Then we will move over to the farmer side. So currently, we only allow buyers to specify the quantity they want. Therefore, you as a farmer, you will only respond to that RFQ if you can match the required quantity for that given RFQ. The part where you as a farmer can post the minimum quantity that you can deliver hasn't yet been produced yet. But as I've said, it is everything is still in development. These are the initial stages of the marketplace. So expect it to grow into being bigger and more better than it is right now because this is truly amazing. Any more questions? You guys are asking very good questions. Okay, if there are no more questions, we have another feature which is for our new users, the aspiring users, some users as farmers. We have the accounting feature which allows you to track your invoices between you and the buyers. So I'll quickly highlight it so that you can be able to end the meeting and not take too much time uh, going through each and every feature because as you have noticed, FarmCloud is a very big platform and you cannot be able to digest all of it in one sitting. So let me take you through the accounting feature and you'll discover that we have a different set of buyers. Now, the accounting feature I am talking about is this one, and you can see you as a farmer, there are those private buyers whom you wish to do your transaction with. So you have to record them physically in your dashboard, in your FarmCloud dashboard. So here we have a list of the buyers that me as a farmer I want to make transaction with, or maybe I have made transaction with. This This all was prior to the market linkage feature, but it will continue to be there for those of us who want to continue dealing with their own private buyers. So you come and create the buyer information. It is very easy. You fill in this form and you have successfully created that buyer. Then once you're done, the buyer information will be visible in this table over here. And then you will now be able to sell them your products which you harvest when you have created a harvest report over here. So once you create a harvest report, as just mentioned, your products will move from uh, the report section, and you'll be able to see them in your uh, inventory in your products part in FarmCloud. So the products part is here. So you can see I had siblings which I had created a harvest report for, and then the product code, the description. That if you want to sell a product that you do not grow in FarmCloud, you can be able to add it manually over here. Then you have the product name and then the product type, whether it is a farm service, a farm asset, or a farm product. A farm service is if you have any services that you give to other, you hire out to other farms, and the unit of measurement, then the description. It is very easy as you have noted that FarmCloud is very straightforward and easy to use. Then we have the uh, income part and the expenses part. So the expenses part is used to record the expenses that you have incurred inside your farm during your day-to-day operations. So the expenses may be expenses for buying fertilizer, agrochemicals, expenses for preparing the land or your greenhouse for the next season. So those types of expenses, or maybe electricity expenses, you'll be able to record them inside FarmCloud. So we have two categories of those expense. We have general expense and element specific expenses. So for general expense are the expense which are not tied to any farm element uh, in FarmCloud, and element specific expense are expenses which are tied to a given farm element. So let me show you how the form looks like. So we have a category, then the supplier, the person whom supply to you this insurance, the dating card, the cost, the payment method, and all the information you have to record for a given expense. Then we have the element specific expense, which is tied to a given farm element. So you first have to record the expense, then um, then select a given farm element name. Then you'll be able to record everything that happened, say the variety, and everything is. As you can see, it's very easy, straightforward. But if you have any question, feel free to reach us to Stacy through the chat, and she'll be able to respond to you. Then afterwards, now we have the income part. The income part is when you want to sell something to a buyer. The buyer here, this buyer over here, the buyer which you created for your private operations. So we have this button here of adding an invoice where you'll be able to leave this as blank for it to be created by the system. Then we have date issued, the date which you issued this invoice, let's say today, and then the due date when you want this invoice to be fulfilled by your buyer. Then you'll be able to select the buyer over here, select that buyer, you select the billing and shipping address. This checkbox it means when you are creating the buyer, you record the buyer information and you recorded the billing and shipping addresses of the buyer. So when you are coming to create an invoice for that buyer, there's a checkbox that reads if this is a custom billing and shipping address, you check this box. But if the billing and the shipping address are the same as when you created this buyer, you leave it as unchecked as it is. Then we have the product line items for the invoice. These are the products which you want to sell to the buyer. So here, say product, then the quantity, you'll be able to select the quantity, and then the unit price. Unit price is price for each quantity, and then the tax if the product you are selling is liable for taxes, then the amount. Then you'll be able to record the payment details. Then here you'll be able to add a payment method if you want. The options are cash, mobile money, bank, and check. Then, as you have noted, we have a toggle button. Once you select a payment method, say mobile money, and you enter the service, if it's send money, pay bill, or TIN number, you'll be able to save this method for future use. Or if you do not want to save it for future use, you can toggle that button. Then we have the subtotal section, which lists all the uh, total money which you are supposed to be to receive from the buyer. So you can say you can include a discount percentage, you can include a shipping fee, and you have to include that shipping fee. And then once everything you have filled in, to come here and then create the invoice. It's very easy as you can see. Then once you have created the invoice, now the invoice will be listed in this table, and then you can view status. So my invoice was due a long time ago, but for purpose of our presentation, you see we have invoice amount and the due date when you're supposed to receive the money, the invoice number, you'll be able to see the invoice, now the buyer information. Here we have the paid section where it lists out of the invoice total amount how much has been paid and how much is remaining. Then If the invoice is long overdue, the status will be overdue. If it has been paid, the invoice will be paid. If it has been partially paid, the status will be partially paid. Then you can choose to edit the invoice if you discover at the time of creation you had incorrect information, or if you need to adjust product line items for your invoices. If you need to void an invoice like the purchase never went through, you can be able to avoid the invoice or delete it. And then we have this option to view the invoice. So you can be able to see that invoice and be able to download it. This is how the final invoice looks like. Now, if you look at the left side of the invoice, you see the payments that have gone inside this invoice. So for one, we have 600 that was paid and status is applied. That is, if the payment has been used to this invoice, it is applied, and then the reference number, the payment method, and the date. And now we have the open amount, which is supposed to be paid for this invoice. And now with that, we have the next thing is the payments table, where we show you all the payments that you have paid, you have received for all your invoices and the status of those payments. And now, if you have any question, because we have come to the end of our cartoon feature, if you have any questions before we proceed, kindly ask them, and I'll be able to respond to them. Stacy.
Okay, so thank you so much, Sam. And I'd love to sincerely apologize. I know we've gone past the scheduled time, but it was such an interactive session. I can see there are no further questions. All questions have been addressed. From our end, is just to appreciate you for joining this webinar and for your active participation. And we hope to see you next session. And for anyone who'd love to join the market linkage feature, please ensure that you're subscribed to FarmCloud. If you need another onboarding session other than the webinar, feel free to reach out to us. We always provide assistance anytime. Other than that, thank you so much, and we wish everyone an amazing week. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks guys for the thumbs up and for your participation. So I will see each other next month, same place, same time.